Hey guys, it's Jackson Fulcher here, and in anticipation of the upcoming Jason Bourne movie coming out in a couple of days, I decided I'm going to be reviewing the original Matt Damon Jason Bourne movies, because when I tried to do it 4 years ago in anticipation of the Bourne Legacy, that kinda turned out...
Hi, my name's Jackson Fulcher. I review TV shows and movies.
Awful. So we're gonna try again, so let's kick it off with the Bourne Identity. Bourne Identity came out in 2002. It was based off of the book, The Bourne Identity, and this one was directed by Doug Liman, who you might recognize from Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Edge of Tomorrow fame. And this movie is very much the origin story of Jason Bourne, the kickoff of the series, what gets you hooked, because we find Jason Bourne in the middle of the ocean. He has a couple holes in his back, and he gets picked up by these people on a boat, and when he wakes up, he remembers nothing. He has complete amnesia, but some things start to come back to him. He remembers how to do certain things, like tie a couple knots, speak a couple languages, and beat the crap out of anybody. And the rest of the movie is him trying to find the clues that'll help him remember who he was and what happened to him. Now, there really is no need to hype up how I feel about this movie or the other two movies in the series. They're all amazing. They're all wonderful in my eyes, and I'm just gonna basically just take some elements from the movies and explain what makes them so special and how it makes this movie so special. So first off, let's talk about Matt Damon. He is super good in the role, and of course, I recently found out that when they first announced him as Jason Bourne, everyone got upset because I guess he hadn't done any action stuff yet. I guess he was just doing Good Will Hunting at the time. But of course, like how most casting controversies work, like Heath Ledger as the Joker or Ben Affleck as Batman, they usually just shut up and they're like, oh wow, Matt Damon was actually good. I guess I got scared and nervous over nothing. And Jason Bourne does change personalities throughout the movies, because in this one he remembers nothing, so in some ways he kind of resembles an audience member watching it for the first time, because the audience member doesn't know what's happening, and neither does Jason Bourne. And Matt Damon's performance really reflects that, because he's finding out things the same time the audience is, so the performance is actually more relatable. And even though people who had seen it before, like myself, I obviously wasn't shocked by anything that happened in this movie, but I actually did recognize that anyone watching this for the first time would actually probably find this performance relatable. And I also love about the Jason Bourne character, whenever they cut back to the CIA, Brian Cox and Chris Cooper with the other CIA people, and they're hunting down Bourne, they gotta find him because they thought he was dead, but it turns out he's alive, and some interesting stuff going on there. They never have a scene where they just exposition dump everything about Jason Bourne, like, alright, here's everything you need to know about Jason Bourne, every intriguing element that could have been used in a good mystery kind of way. We're just gonna tell you it right now. They never do that. They always hint at it. The way they talk to each other, the dialogue they have, they never just full out tell the audience. They never just spell it out for anyone what's actually happening. They hint at it. So when stuff is revealed about Jason Bourne later on in the movie, when it's found out by Jason Bourne, you actually are surprised with him. Another thing I really liked about this movie is Marie. He meets this character later on because he needs a ride. He offers a couple $1,000s if she helps him out. And I thought Marie was played really well. I thought she was a really likable character, and I love how they didn't make her a damsel in distress in this movie, because she's more of a partner that Jason Bourne agrees to help if she helps him. They work together, and eventually that turns out into a beautiful relationship that would get squashed in the first 15 minutes of the Bourne Supremacy. I will talk about that in that review. There are moments where these characters are in danger, but it's never, hey, we got your girlfriend Marie, come get her. It's never like that. No cliches like that. And I also love how they're not tied together in the past, because Jason Bourne literally just needs a ride, and he sees Marie over there. It's one of the first people he sees, so he has to go to her. No coincidences like we used to know each other in a past life or anything like that. It's just they met, they need each other's help in a way, and they actually start bonding with each other overall. And it's really sweet, considering that Marie is one of the only people that Jason Bourne actually starts to get to know, you know, after his amnesia. Let's not deny it, the Bourne movies, a lot of the reasons why they're remembered, besides the thing that I just mentioned for this movie, is its action sequences, and the ones here are really incredible because Doug Liman does a really good job directing them with skill by inserting some suspense in there, like in a bank scene, and that leads to Jason Bourne hanging off the side of the building. That was really suspenseful rewatching it, actually. There's one scene that completely caught me off guard because I haven't seen this movie in a while, and the way one action scene started, the action scene in the apartment, I was like, oh, okay. It's a jump, but it's a jump in a good way. And there's also a really cool and suspenseful scene later on in the movie where Jason Bourne's being hunted down at this house that he just spent the night at, and it's actually really cool what he does in that scene, how he gets out of it. It's really suspenseful too because the guy hunting him is all the way over there and Jason Bourne is all the way over here. They're fairly separated from each other, but they each know that they are there. But of course, my favorite action scene in this whole movie is actually the car chase. That car chase was so well done. And I believe this was Doug Liman's first action movie too, so that is actually really impressive that he was able to do that, because he did do some movies before, one of them being Swingers, but this was his first action thriller movie, and I think he did a superb job directing the action scenes, and of course, it led him to do Mr. and Mrs. Smith and Edge of Tomorrow, which were also really cool. The characters are likable, the action is really well directed, has some really nice suspense, the plot is intriguing, and the ending of this movie works in two ways. If they decided to not make the Bourne sequels, then the ending, I think, could have actually worked on its own if this was just one movie. I think that ending would have actually worked. But since they did do the sequels as well, this is actually a really cool to-be-continued ending as well. Overall, the Bourne Identity is one of the best action thrillers of all time, with a really likable character, relatable performance by Matt Damon, and some really cool action scenes directed by Doug Liman. I'm gonna give the Bourne Identity an A+. It was an incredible start to this series, and if you have not seen this movie yet for some reason, even though Jason Bourne comes out this week, you should probably watch it right now. But if you've already seen the Bourne Identity, which you probably have, leave in the comments below what you thought of it, and I'm going to have reviews for the Bourne Supremacy and the Bourne Ultimatum a little bit later. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.